A new adventure begins. I'm gonna go pick up my mom, and then off to Washington, D.C. we go.
Turn left onto Florida 953 Northwest 42nd Avenue.
The Lewis and Clark road trip begins.
I'm riding in my RV, wherever I want to be, 'cause I'm free in my RV, yeah.
It is Friday morning in Miami, and naturally there's a little bit of traffic on State Route 836, the Dolphin Expressway, going towards downtown. The white dome on the right is the Florida Marlins Stadium. Lone Depot Park, I believe it is called now, and I can understand the need for sponsors and all that, but Lone Depot Park just does not roll off the tongue now, does it? They're building a double-decker bridge here over the Miami River. Hopefully, it'll streamline things. Here's the real bottleneck every single time, trying to get on I-95 North. Hopefully, after all this construction is over, they might make it into a 2-lane exit. One can only hope, right? And we're home free. I-95 North seems to be pretty clear, and we're going to be on this road for the better part of the next 2 days. Our first stop is going to be at La Mesa, a Winnebago dealership, where they are going to replace one of the solar panels. There were 2 screws missing, and my only explanation is that someone might have tried to steal it, but I guess we'll never know. All I know is that a couple of days ago I was getting back from Pelicamp and someone was honking at me, and at the beginning I thought it was like a viewer saying hi, so I waved back, and no, he was frantically pointing towards the roof of the trailer, so I stopped, and lo and behold, the panel was coming loose. It is almost impossible for those screws to come off so clean on their own, so my only hypothesis is that someone removed them and somehow didn't have the time to finish the job. What do you guys think? And here we are. While they replace the damaged solar panel, I'm going to take Mom to Fort Pierce. Well, we dropped off Minitini 3 at La Mesa here. They're gonna replace that solar panel. And now we're going to Fort Pierce for lunch. And we've been there before. So, yeah, let's go somewhere nice. We're going to do the touristy thing and eat at this place called Krabby's Dockside. It's right on the marina. Yep, let's park right here. Well, here we are, downtown Fort Pierce Marina. We're gonna have some lunch, some early lunch here. Let's do it. By the way, I'm traveling with Mom. Gotta get a table with a view, right? A cold local IPA, of course. And the catch of the day, with corn and coconut rice. And this fabulous view. Well, that was really good. We gotta get on one of those wildlife boat tours one of these days. Actually, here we've got some wildlife without having to take the tour. There are so many fish here by the marina. I don't know if they are naturally occurring or they're just here because people feed them. It is fascinating. They have live music at Marina Square. This is one of those cases of being in the right place at the right time. Well, check it out. This was a pleasant surprise here to find the, live band at the park here, all the fish, and the food was actually really good. Service was sluggish, but the food, the fish was amazing. Now let's go back to La Mesa and see if the RV is ready. Well, everything went great at La Mesa. We have a brand new solar panel, and now next up, Buc-ee's! Well, Mom has never been to Buc-ee's, so I thought I'd take her so she can see what all the fuzz is about. Well, we had to make our pilgrimage one more time to Buc-ee's, so here we are. Say hello to my little friend. To make a long story short, eventually we got to Jacksonville, and shortly after, the Florida-Georgia state line, the St. Mary's River. We're gonna stay at Walmart.
Welcome to Georgia.
Oh, thank you. I-95 is not very scenic in Georgia and the Carolinas, so we're just gonna stop at south of the border just to corroborate that it is still there. I had heard rumors that it was getting demolished, and I'm happy to report it is still here. Tonight, we're gonna stay at the Rocky Mount KOA, just about 30 miles south of the Virginia state line. It's a brand new day. We didn't get to do anything here, just a comfortable night with full hookups. Now, off to Washington, D.C. we go.
Welcome to Virginia.
Thank you. GPS wants me to take the Beltway, but we're just gonna punch through the center of town. Oh no, black helicopter overhead. Check it out. I think it is going to land at the Pentagon. Arriving at any major city, and our nation's capital probably even more so, can be a thrilling experience, if a little stressful one too. I mean, you get to recognize iconic landmarks like the Washington Monument, but there's also traffic and the unfamiliarity with the area. Here we get a glimpse at the Capitol building and the Library of Congress, but it is hard to see from the interstate. Today we're staying at Cherry Hill Park in College Park, Maryland, probably the closest RV park to Washington, D.C. At least that's what they claim.
Well, we made it here to Cherry Hill Park. It's bitterly cold, and I'm filling up my fresh water tank because it is very likely that it is going to freeze tonight. So we don't want to run into any trouble. But I mean, we even had some snow flurries here until just a few seconds ago. Well, now let's get something to eat and go to the city. I came by this place called the Hard Times Cafe, which is basically the local saloon, you know, where everybody knows your name. And except nobody knew ours, but that's pretty good. It's pretty good.
As a House of Cards fan, I've always wanted to come into DC at night and maybe reproduce some of those iconic night shots from the intro. And now is as good a time as any. Driving through the streets at night is really a unique experience. Lincoln Park here on the left, and this is Capitol Hill, one of the oldest and largest historic neighborhoods here in DC, with all these row houses of different architectural styles. Pretty soon we'll be able to see the back of the Capitol building. That would be the Hirshhorn Museum of Modern Art. Not quite the glamorous night shots I was hoping for, but that's the best I can do from the car. In order to achieve the type of night photography I want to do, I would have to get out and walk. And this is the thing, Washington has changed a bit since the first time I was here in 1994. Everything seemed much more accessible back then. I recall there was even a street going by the front of the Lincoln Memorial. Now, all I can hope for is a shot of the back. It's still pretty cool to drive around the Capitol at night, let me tell you. There, that's the White House. One last view of the Capitol before we start heading back. We're meeting up with longtime viewers and friends Jim and Paula. You may know him as Jim from DC in the YouTube Friday chat, and he happens to be a DC native. And he's offered to let us park at his condo. He's gonna give us a tour of his hometown, so let's do it! This is Arena Stage at the Meade Center for American Theater. Founded in 1850, one of the first non-profit theaters in the United States and the first regional theater to transfer a production to Broadway. The current renovation dates to 2010, surrounding the stages into a glass curtain wall and incorporating them into a larger building. It is actually like a building inside a building. This neighborhood, Southwest Waterfront. Since the cherry blossoms are going to be the main theme of our visit here, first, Jim and Paula are going to take us to the local spot, the one the tourists don't know about. That's an old cherry grove right there. This is an artificial island called Haines Point, separated from the mainland on this side by the Washington Channel, and located at the confluence of the Anacostia and Potomac rivers, where the locals come to bike, enjoy the scenery, and play golf. Yeah, the whole thing is like a huge golf course. Most of it, anyway.
Oh wow, chopper over the War College, it's perfect.
There goes Marine One.
Yeah, I have a thing for helicopters. Actually, aircraft of all kinds, and DC being the main headquarters of the federal American government, it's definitely the place to see all kinds, all the time.
Here comes another one.
All kinds of things happening in this town, and that definitely looks like the presidential chopper Marine One.
Well, here we are in DC with he's like pulling away with Jim from DC.
Hi.
And my mom back there. My mom finally being able to see the cherry blossoms after how many years? 1958. How many years
63?
is that? 63 years. And this is not tidal basin proper, like where all the tourists are, but this is like tidal basin for the locals. And we have like a tunnel of cherry trees. Unseasonably cold even for DC this time of the year, but we're managing. Look at that. These are gonna be gone in less than a week. They're gonna be gone. And here we are. This is not the Potomac proper; it's the Washington Channel. But I mean, we're gonna be driving around most of the day, so I'll show you the rest. This is no way to welcome a Floridian to DC with this weather. What are you doing?
We're preserving the trees in the cold.
I know. You were preserving it so they would still have, some flowers on them by the time I arrived. I know.
Let's move to the other side of the island, passing by the confluence of the Anacostia and the Potomac. And that would be the Robert E. Lee Mansion across the river, in Arlington, because we are now on the Potomac River, Virginia on the other side. And there's a plane landing at Ronald Reagan National Airport. And I love taking these types of shots with a long lens of planes landing and things like that.
We found the one pink cherry tree in the whole of Washington, D.C. So Mom's gonna take a picture now.
Yep, Mom's a tree hugger, all right.
Well, this right here is a fragment of a column belonging to a monument that is in Havana, Cuba, you know, my birthplace. And it's a monument to the USS Maine that exploded in the Havana Bay back in 1898, if I'm correct. And actually, it was the beginning of the Spanish-American War. After that ship blew up in the Havana harbor. And that monument in Havana was built in 1926. Same year my dad was born. So it's here, and nobody really knows it is here. I just found it by chance by searching Google Maps. So the more you know, right? We're frozen here, Jim. We're frozen.
Frozen!
And we are now at Tidal Basin, the area where all the tourists come to see the cherry blossoms. There's even a festival going on. And there's Dr. Martin Luther King across the basin. We'll be visiting him tomorrow, actually. Now, Dr. King again with the Lincoln Memorial as well. Here's a profile of Thomas Jefferson. And the Washington Memorial at the center of it all. And the Capitol building. What a great vantage point this is. Let's pay Mr. Jefferson a visit because he is actually the reason there was a Lewis and Clark and an expedition to the West and all that. The Jefferson Memorial is precisely aligned with the White House, so the president can actually see the monument directly from the residence. That's pretty cool.
Well, greetings everybody from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. And this right here is Thomas Jefferson. This is the Jefferson Memorial, and as you know, this is kind of the beginning of our Lewis and Clark road trip, in which we're going to follow in their footsteps. But it was here with Jefferson that it all began. Of course, Jefferson made the Louisiana Purchase in 1803. Of course, the Lewis and Clark trip had been in the works for far longer than that, but then in 1804 they departed, and from 1804 to 1808, that's when they basically discovered the final frontier at the time, which was the West. And this is that classic view, and of course I'm going to zoom in, the Washington Memorial and the White House right next to it, and all this was designed so the President of the United States could see the Jefferson Memorial from the Oval Office there, basically. So yeah, I think that this would be a fitting beginning to our epic road trip. Not as epic as Lewis and Clark's, of course. We have more technology nowadays, but this is the beginning. And I want to thank Jem for giving us the tour of our nation's capital. Thank you, Jem.
You're welcome.
The next time, just turn on the furnace a little. You know, this is not
Not usual for Washington
No.
to be freezing in March.
The original plan was to walk all the way around Tidal Basin, but first, it is a lot bigger than it looks on the map, and it is uncomfortably cold. I think it feels like 25 Fahrenheit or -4 Celsius with the wind chill and all that. We have to go somewhere and thaw. Looking to the west over the Potomac, that's the Pentagon right there. Here we have the oldest municipal fish market in the nation, in this very nice area called the Wharf. We must return when it is warmer. Here we are by the Washington National Park.
We're gonna get our local IPA. Well, here we are at Atlas Brewery in Washington, and what's the name of the neighborhood? Navy Yard. And here we are. We're gonna have some pizza and some. I'm having the local IPA because I'm an IPA guy. And here's Jim. And this brewery has a peculiarity that it is mostly powered with solar power, so that's a good thing.
Capital Skyline Hotel. That's where we stayed back in 2012. Here we have the Botanical Garden, the National Museum of the American Indian, and Hirschhorn undergoing renovations. This brown building would be the Smithsonian Castle.
Well, since this trip is kind of, very historic in nature, I think it would be another good place to start by the Smithsonian Museum of American History. So let's step inside. Yeah, it's closed on Wednesday and Thursday now. So here we go. Always love the Smithsonian museums. And by the way, all the Smithsonians, free. We pay for them.
The main artifact here at the museum is the Star-Spangled Banner, which is behind that wall, and they do not allow photography. And then we are greeted by a shirtless George Washington in a sculpture that evokes that of a Greek god. They have some exhibits about the Revolutionary War, the Constitution, but nothing, not even a footnote about Lewis and Clark. This was one of the earliest steam locomotives, dating back to 1831, and they have this whole America on the Move exhibit, which is very cool actually, showing all kinds of modes of transportation, beginning with ships, all kinds, but not the peculiar keelboat we're looking for. That being said, it is a wonderful exhibit. I've always been fascinated by all forms of transportation. Here's the first vehicle to drive cross-country back in 1903. I saw a documentary about it once. It was quite the adventure.
As you can see, here we have the first time they did it in a car, but I haven't been able to find the first time they did it, period.
Here's the predecessor to Minnie Teeny. Yep, a an early travel trailer from the 1930s. Of course, there would have to be a reference to the Mother Road, America's Main Street, also known as Route 66. Here's the only survivor of Southern Railway's PS4 class locomotives, this one built in 1926.
Jim lost his hat. We're getting hurricane force winds here at the National Mall, which, by the way, is not a shopping mall. It's just they just call it a mall.
There we can see the Lincoln Memorial behind the Washington Monument. We definitely have to come back tomorrow and then in spring when it is not this cold and windy.
The things I do for you guys, it feels like 25 degrees here in the National Mall, high winds. Jim just lost his hat. But I wanted to show you our national capital right there on Capitol Hill. And then on this side, we have Mom and Jim. And back there, the Washington Monument. Behind the Washington Monument is the Lincoln Memorial. Maybe we'll get to see it tomorrow, because right now we're getting out of this cold. It's too cold in DC today.
Here we can see in detail the different color stones used in the construction of the Washington Monument. And this is what happened. They ran out of money halfway through in 1856, and then the Civil War happened, and when they resumed construction in 1876, they got the marble from a different quarry. Little known fact, when finished in 1885, the stones looked exactly the same, but over the years, they aged differently, and now there's a visible seam. I think we've had enough frigid fun for one day, don't you think? Tomorrow we'll come back and continue exploring. We've been staying at Cherry Hill Park in Maryland. According to them, they are the closest RV park to Washington, D.C. And they even have a shuttle twice a day and access to public transportation, but we're just gonna drive. We're gonna park by the same spot we parked yesterday, parking lot A by the Cuban Friendship Urn. Here we are once again at Tidal Basin, and this time we're gonna walk at least halfway around it to the Martin Luther King Memorial, and it is such a beautiful day. Definitely sunnier than yesterday. It looks like some of the flowers are starting to wither, so we made it in the nick of time.
There they go. And we're back. We're back at Tidal Basin here, Washington, D.C., day 2. It is still cold, don't get me wrong, but it's much less colder and a little less windy and sunnier. Back there, of course, the Jefferson Memorial one more time. And here's Mom. Now what we're going to do, we're going to walk around Tidal Basin here and maybe find the spot where she took that picture back in 1958. So we're going to do that right now.
Very happy here in the Cherry Blossom Festival.
Tidal Basin is an artificial lake designed to harness the power of the tides in the Potomac River to flush silt and sediment from the Washington Channel. This time of the year, as it is expected, very touristy, as many people come to admire and take pictures of the unique scenery created by the cherry blossoms. Here we have the Japanese pagoda, presented to the city of Washington by the mayor of Yokohama in 1957. Coming up next, the Franklin Delano Roosevelt Memorial.
Just in case.
I think this is one of the lesser-known memorials in Washington, but it is very well made. A president that assumed the presidency during the worst part of the Great Depression and presided through the recovery and then World War II. It is hard to understate that legacy. Next, we're going to pay a visit to Martin Luther King Jr. It is a uniquely beautiful walk around the basin. And here's where they're holding the annual Cherry Blossom Festival.
The National Cherry Blossom Festival, we have some food trucks.
Alright,
lunch with live entertainment. Well, we were finally able to sort of replicate that picture from 1958 from my mom's, and not at the exact same spot, but very similar.
Now walking towards the Martin Luther King Memorial, which was dedicated August 28, 2011, here at West Potomac Park, at 1964 Independence Avenue Southwest. Its address referencing the year the Civil Rights Act of 1964 became law. Chinese artist Master Lei Yixing became the official sculptor in 2007. The sculpture and the mountain are composed of 159 granite blocks that were transported to Master Lei's studio in China, where he assembled and sculpted 80% of it. It was then disassembled and transported by ship to Baltimore and reassembled at the memorial. Master Lei completed the last 20% of the sculpting on site, right here in Washington, D.C. As I mentioned, the idea was to walk all the way around the basin, but it is cold and Mom's tired, so this is where we're gonna stop and go visit another iconic memorial.
Here we are back at the Martin Luther King Memorial right here. And let's see if we can do one final stop at the Lincoln Memorial. I don't know if we're going to have time for that, but we're going to try. Such a gorgeous day.
Here's the Korean War Veterans Memorial, apparently undergoing renovations. And there it is, the iconic Lincoln Memorial. That's where we're going next. This has got to be, hands down, one of the most iconic views of Washington, D.C. The Washington Memorial, with the Capitol building peeking from behind. And there he is, Abe, the one we all like. One of these days, we'll make it back up there, like we did back in 1994. Ah, come on, indulge me. Let's see some pictures from 1994.
Well, this is probably going to be one of our last points of interest here on this particular trip, but we've made it to probably one of the most iconic places here in Washington, D.C., and that would be the Lincoln Memorial. Now we're going to go up the steps and, and say hello to our friend Abe up there. What a beautiful view of the Washington Monument, the reflecting pool back there. It's amazing. Don't you hate it when your battery dies in the middle of a long, immersive shot? It did, but we continue here on our last steps. Going into the Lincoln Memorial.
Hi.
Batman's here, guys.
I got him this Yeah, can we take a photo of it, but down here?
Well, here, can we get a high five real quick? Yeah. Good work. Let's go. Is your screensaver the Riddler?
Let's walk around the memorial here real quick so I can show you the backside, which is back there. And I believe we will be able to see Arlington National Cemetery from back there. And, all the crowds are there in the front, but very few people actually come back here and see the other side. The other side of the Lincoln Memorial, which right now we're bathed. Look at that, there's nobody back here. We have all these Doric columns here. As actually, you can't see the cemetery. No, I'm losing my voice. It's still very cold, but not as cold as it was earlier. But that's the bridge that goes onto Maryland, and there will be Arlington National Cemetery back there in the back. And I think this, as I said, this is probably the last thing we're gonna see here in Washington. Now we're gonna start heading back. Maybe we'll do something else later. But right now we need to take a break and regroup and warm up.
Let's see if we can see the White House. And there it is, kind of, sort of, behind the trees. Let's go around. Yeah, something always going on in this town. That's Lafayette Square here on the right. There, that's a much better view. Now let's try and see if we can find parking.
Saratoga.
Here we are, once again, Lafayette Square. And there's the Andrew Jackson statue. And behind it, the Washington Monument. And in between them, what's probably the most secure building in the world, the White House. Here's Andrew Jackson from the other side. Let's take a closer look. There are some scopes on the roof, the portico on the northern facade. And there's some kind of protest going on, as I imagine is usually the case. The Secret Service, perhaps? Let's continue. And it is getting to that time of the day, rush hour, and it is kind of late, which means we're only gonna have a few minutes to see it, but I wanna go to Arlington National Cemetery.
Well, here we are, Arlington National Cemetery, and we arrived kind of late, so we're not gonna be able to see much, but I just wanted to see this place. You know, this is my fourth time in Washington, D.C., and I had never seen this, so I wanted to. We're gonna try to go all the way to John F. Kennedy's gravestone. This really was all we had time for today, but we will return, see, all the other graves, and take another moment to reflect on this special place here. And I think this is it for our time here in DC. I don't know if we're gonna stop by Georgetown or we're just gonna go back to the RV park. I'll have to check with Mom. And this one is called The Price of Freedom.
We've decided to drive around a little bit before heading back to Cherry Hill Park, get to know the parts of the city we haven't been to, and revisit some we have. First, let's drive by Roslyn. It is very urban. Many skyscrapers, and I know this is the type of city my mom likes. Next, we're going to drive across the Potomac River onto Georgetown, and we were here ever so briefly back in 2012. In fact, we had Christmas Eve dinner at a restaurant here, and I remember the city having a very special character. By the way, check out this building here on the right. That is the Ukrainian Embassy. And for context, this was filmed in late March 2022, only about a month into the Russo-Ukrainian War. Our friend Seth noticed we were here in DC, through Instagram probably. So he texted me to see if we wanted to meet up, and I can't think of a better way to end our time here in the capital. So we're going to meet at this Irish pub called the Dublinier. It is supposed to be very iconic. And the watering hole of choice for many politicians, it being in close proximity to the capital. This is, by the way, K Street. I guess we stumbled upon Chinatown. Over the years, I have become a little bit less of a city person, but DC, I think, deserves a more in-depth visit. Not just the museums and monuments, but the actual city, where people live and work and eat.
Okay, here we are with Mom and with Seth. Hey Seth, great seeing you again, man. So let's dig in, yeah. That's a jumbo potato.
Always fun to spend time with friends and catch up. And with that, we're going to say goodbye for now to our nation's capital. Although, I have a feeling we'll be back sooner than later. Because, don't you know, I'm from the future. Tomorrow we're going someplace else. We're going to the mountains. And we're gonna spend some time at Natural Bridge, Virginia. We're going to visit the state park, make a day trip to Jefferson's Monticello, and drive on the Blue Ridge Parkway before heading back south.
Well, we had a great time here in Washington, D.C., in our nation's capital. Cherry Hill Park here, very nice. We didn't enjoy any of the amenities, really. This was just like a place to sleep. And they've been here for 100 years. Can you believe that? I just saw that on their pamphlet. Very nice, very clean, no complaints. Now we're gonna begin the journey southwest rather.
Yes, today the road will take us to Natural Bridge, Virginia. You know, the mountains are calling. So as soon as we get out of the city, we're going to take Interstate 66 west, and then, eventually, Interstate 81 south. I-81 here is one of my favorite interstates in the eastern United States, and a great alternate to I-95. The detour only adds about 100 miles to the trip, and less than 2 hours, and it is a much more scenic drive. We are approaching Yogi Bear's Jellystone Park at Natural Bridge.
Well, it turns out we're only like 25 minutes from the Blue Ridge Parkway, and the weather just became a beautiful day. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna go to the Blue Ridge Parkway.
Yeah, let's explore the area. This is Glasgow, the closest town. But if you need supplies, keep in mind there is no supermarket or real grocery store with any variety of fresh produce. There's a Dollar General and the convenience store and the general store, but that's about it. We're gonna take US 501 here, pretty windy mountain road, and check it out. There's a scenic overlook.
There you go, the James River, some rapids down there. Right here on the side of the road as we make our way towards the Blue Ridge Parkway.
And the flowers are in bloom. I wonder what this blue-green stuff on the trees is. We're down by the James River once again, and there seems to be a dam.
Can't barely see it, but there's a dam over there.
There's the sign, entering Blue Ridge Parkway. This is one of my favorite drives in the whole United States, and at this point I think we've done most of it, in different sections.
Here we are at Terrapin Mountain, which must be that. 3,500 elevation here, 2885, and check it out. Check out the valley before us. We can even see a body of water down there. I don't know what that is. Check out the view. Oh wow. You look at that. Shall I say commanding view? Clouds are right there.
The Blue Ridge does take a long time to drive it because every time you see an overlook, you feel compelled to stop. So let's stop here.
Here's another amazing view. Just stop for a few seconds here. Arnold Valley, we are at 3,700 now. See all the layers on the mountains.
Okay, let's do one more. Alright, let's go back to the campground. We'll do another section of the Blue Ridge in a couple of days on the way back south. Oh, I remember doing this section of the Blue Ridge back in 2019, but it looked completely different. It was cloudy and the views weren't that great. I just remembered because of the peaks of Otter Lodge here on the left. Well, good morning. Today we're going to the Natural Bridge.
Actually, it is one of the nicest looking visitor centers I've ever seen. Let's go see the natural bridge. Admission fee required at all times. Yeah, it is a $9 fee to visit the state park. And she assured me that at some point someone is going to ask me for the ticket before we get there. So we'll see. It is a Virginia historic landmark here, the natural bridge. Now we've got some stairs. Yeah, this ranger station here, that's where they ask for your ticket. And now, here we go. Oh, that's the natural bridge right there. Check it out. I thought it was going to be like a long hike in the wilderness, but it is not. That's pretty cool. Check out how clean this water is right here. Very crystalline. And these rapids are... Would that be a rapid or a cascade? I'm gonna call it a rapid. And look at that up there. It's very cool. Yeah, we're walking under the bridge. A lot of water under the bridge too.
You walk under the bridge, the trail keeps going along the creek, all the way to a waterfall that is at the end. The whole thing is about a mile one way. Oh well, the Monacan Indian exhibit is closed. We'll have to do the best we can from outside. Horticultural area.
Well, circa 1699. We'll just take a peek through the fence.
Here it is, from a higher vantage point. Now, let's continue. Ooh, there's an otter.
And it's gone.
Those are more unpredictable than dolphins. Who knows where or when it is going to resurface. The natural bridge was originally purchased by Thomas Jefferson from King George III of England in 1774, along with 157 acres of land around it, and eventually it became a tourist attraction.
This is Saltpeter Cave.
Yep, Thomas Jefferson leased out the cave for the excavation of potassium nitrate, used in gunpowder. Let me tell you, it's good to own land with a natural resource, huh? This is Cedar Creek, by the way, and it is more beautiful than I ever expected, with all these ripples and the crystalline water.
I think that's it. We're almost there. Look at that.
Well, there it is.
So transparent. You know, it's the darndest thing. It gets cloudy, it gets sunnier, and I don't know what to do. By the way, I did forget, and now it's raining. Go figure. I did forget a second battery for this camera, but a rookie mistake. We have the 360, so we're gonna do a lot of 360 video on this hike because that's what we have. But look at that. It's Lace Falls right there. And this is the end of the trail. Beautiful, beautiful. Let's zoom in, shall we? That's it. That's the end of the trail, and it keeps raining on and off, and the sun keeps getting cloudy and sunnier periodically. One of those. I mean, we have high winds. The clouds are moving fast, but I don't know. I'm undecided whether I'm going to do another trail or not. But for now, let's just get back to the visitor center and regroup. It's been a beautiful trail, a lot less strenuous than I was expecting, to be honest. It's not bad. I mean, there's a little bit of an up and down, and there's a couple of stairs, but for the most part, it looks like this.
Okay, let's do a tiny planet real quick. I know, I couldn't resist the temptation.
What do you know, it is raining again. Oh, look at that little waterfall down there. I have not seen that. Yeah, that's a better view. The Lost River.
I believe they're gonna release some fish into the stream. Amazing how you can see the bottom so clearly. Let's check out Jefferson's cave once again. You can already see the bridge all the way from here. It is raining pretty hard now. I even got a few drops on my lens. That's it for the natural bridge. Let's get back to the campground and cook us some lunch. I'm hungry and I'm sure Mom is hungry too. These stairs right here are actually the most strenuous part of the trail. Let's drive over the bridge because, yes, it is an actual bridge. A road goes over it. And this is it. That was anticlimactic at best. Let's go back to the campground and fire up that grill.
It is that kind of weather. All of a sudden it's cold, all of a sudden it's hot, you know, it's windy. But this is gonna come out good. We're getting some salmon going here and some potatoes. We're gonna let it run for like 10 minutes, see what happens. And we got some Atlas Ponzi IPA, courtesy of our friend Jim from DC. So, cheers, Jim. Here we go, salmon and potatoes. Well done.
Hi.
We're going to Jefferson Point.
Such a beautiful area and totally under the radar.
Okay, here we are at the Skyline Trail. And parking is $5. On our system here, you just fill up the envelope and deposit right there. And let's check out the trail. By the way, I'm with Mom, so we're gonna try to do a trail together today. It's a short trail. It's only like half a mile to Jefferson Point. If it is not too strenuous, we're gonna be able to do it. Yeah, Mom stayed back a little bit while I finished the hike. But you know, she got a little bit of it, you know, like maybe a tenth, a fifth of a mile. And I'm just gonna jog off my lunch here real quick. Whew, a little out of breath here. I thought that back there was gonna be the main view, which is not a bad view at all whatsoever. But it keeps going. I'm a little out of breath. Maybe I'm a little out of shape. I don't know. Let's continue. We're almost there. I believe probably the actual Jefferson Point is up there. I see those two people walking over there, so that's gotta be it.
I'm gonna try and do this as quickly as possible because I don't want Mom to stay by herself for too long. I mean, she's probably catching up on her social media anyways.
What a view, huh?
A weather radar, perhaps?
Yeah, I think the actual Jefferson Point is over there. So let's just make one final run. I don't want to leave Mom alone for too long. This seems to be the end of the trail. Let's head back. Oh, let's start heading back. It's pretty cold and windy, but it was a rewarding hike. I liked it. Very well maintained, the trail, by the way. I mean, you could drive it if they allowed it. Actually, the view from this vantage point is arguably probably the better view, better than over there at Jefferson Point. All right, let's go down, check on Mom. We're gonna head back to Jellystone because we have a live stream to do tonight. And by the way, this area, beautiful. I love this area. I love that RV resort. The only thing that my only negative is that and for some people it might be a positive. Internet connectivity is no good. There's no T-Mobile, very little AT&T, a little more Verizon, and campground Wi-Fi is fine, but not to do a live stream. It's not enough to do a live stream. So let's see, Verizon with the cell phone booster might work. And we're back. So it is almost nighttime here. I just finished the live stream and I'm losing my voice. By the way, it is great that we were able to do the live stream with the cell phone booster, and now I decided to grill some meat because that's coming out good. That's what I like to do. It wouldn't be a proper RV resort if we didn't have a railroad track, right? Luckily, it only passes like once or twice at this time. Let's flip it. Yeah, that's a thick piece of meat.
It's very cold here.
We've been staying at fabulous Jellystone Park at Natural Bridge, and today we're going to make a day trip to the property that used to be Thomas Jefferson's plantation, just outside Charlottesville, Virginia. Originally 500 acres, it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This location is very relevant to our upcoming Lewis and Clark Trail road trip, because the library at Monticello at the time was the most extensive in the world when it came to the geography of the North American continent. There, Meriwether Lewis learned about botany, mineralogy, astronomy, and ethnology at the tutoring of the president himself. About an hour later, here we are. We're going to park and take a shuttle to the actual residence.
Well, here we are at Jefferson, Monticello, and here's Jefferson to greet us.
National Historic Landmark, and the only presidential home in the United States designated as a United Nations World Heritage Site.
A brick and gravel trail 6/10 of a mile in length also connects the mountaintop, gravesite, and visitor center. Over 400 enslaved people lived and labored at Monticello during Jefferson's lifetime. During your tour of the house, you'll spend about 40 minutes exploring the first floor of Thomas Jefferson's autobiographical masterpiece. Plan to spend time in the dependencies on the lower level, including the kitchen and wine cellar. To learn more about all of the things you see and do today, please visit us online at monticello.org.
There it is. The neoclassical facade is even depicted on the US 5-cent coin, also known as a nickel. Let's step inside, which, by the way, as of early spring 2022, you had to make a reservation online. This is the entrance hall, which feels almost like a museum display of items cherished by Jefferson. this is the sitting room, although Jefferson called it the book room. And this is the library, part of Jefferson's office, where he stored his collection of books and scientific instruments.
This is the cast of whom?
Oliver Cromwell.
Oliver Cromwell.
And this is the cabinet, his actual office. The room is full of gadgets, his polygraph, telescope, a theodolite which he used to survey and map his land. The polygraph was actually the latest technology at the time, around 1802, 1803, and apparently it never worked quite right, but you could have an instant copy of your writings. Let's go back to the entrance hall so we can explore the rest of the house. Here's the bed chamber, Jefferson's most private room, away from visitors and most family. The great clock at the entrance hall was designed by Jefferson himself. Talk about a Renaissance man. Next, the parlor, the center of social life at Monticello. And of course, there would have to be a harpsichord and the cittern, which is an English guitar, I've learned. There's a camera obscura, the precursor to photography. Framing the window, a bust of Napoleon Bonaparte and Tsar Alexander I. Next, we have the dining room. And that's it for the first floor of the house. In order to visit the second and third floors, you need to reserve a guided tour, which we didn't. In hindsight, maybe we should have. Here's the ice house, which they would fill in winter, and generally it lasted throughout the summer. What a beautiful linden tree.
Well, he did have a view, that much is certain. A commanding view, I might add. Look at that. Side of Monticello and the view to that side, which I'm sure we're gonna be able to see as we head over there. I believe that's a linden tree, and once again, commanding view of the Blue Ridge Mountains. I think they're the Blue Ridge Mountains over there. North Privy. Look at that. I guess they hadn't invented toilet paper yet.
Well, this measures this of a mile. So the one would be.
This is the all-weather passage that goes underneath the house, with access to the cellar.
Going to the cellar.
It looks like good old Tom had a pretty good taste in wines, at least in his latter years, especially after spending some time in France and Germany. This device, called a dumbwaiter, was an elevator of sorts to send the wine up to the dining room.
I've never seen one that small. But
Yeah, that's what she said.
That's the cellar door right there.
oh, there it is. That's where.
We are here. Yes, slave workspace.
Yes, this would have been the area where their slaves worked. And apparently, even though Jefferson owned many slaves, he was actively involved in legislation that he hoped would result in slavery's abolition. After all, didn't he write all men are created equal in the Declaration of Independence? But I imagine at the time that would have been an uphill battle in Virginia. He called slavery a moral depravity and a hideous blot, the greatest threat to the survival of the new American nation. Radical views at the time. Little did he know it would take over half a century and a civil war to finally abolish slavery. And here's the beer cellar. Yeah, apparently he used to brew his own beer.
I wonder if they had any IPAs. What do you think? IPAs? Maybe? Yes? No? Ale, a stronger beer, better suited to storage. Malting, brewing. Okay. Here's another storage cellar here. For wine. There you go. So they had cider, wine, they had beer. Yeah, I think Thomas liked to, maybe not. I don't know. Well, that's a nice clock right there. And this would have been the kitchen right here, at the ground level. Let's check out the vegetable gardens and the stables.
Here's the vegetable garden. Such a beautiful setting and such great time of the year to be here. In early April, with all the flowers blooming.
Textiles. It's the textile workshop.
Just a few scattered dwellings and workshops. Most of the enslaved community lived near the tobacco field. White workmen lived in the stone house and in overseers' houses on the port farms.
Here's what a slave's house would have looked like, and they do have specific slavery at Monticello tours. This would have been the stables, I guess.
Fake horses, really? Let's see what's in here.
All right, let's go back up. Mom's waiting for me.
The cook's room. Smokehouse.
Sometimes you time it perfectly, and this time we did, to see the tulips in bloom.
Well, here we are about to depart. They closed the cafeteria, they closed this room, so I think this place is like closing down slowly behind us. So hopefully we're able to see the cemetery, you know, the graveyard. But it is actually very nice to finally be here and see this. That's a legit water pump right there for the cistern.
And with that, we're gonna say goodbye to Monticello. But before we go, let's stop by the graveyard, which you can access via a trail or the shuttle. There is a stop on the way down.
Well, here's our final stop, and this will be the gravesite. Thomas Jefferson's gravesite. Let's check it out. It would have been really nice to be able to walk inside the graveyard, but as you can see, you know, there are no paths or anything like that. I don't even know if it's like open at some point, you know. So now we're gonna have to hike the 400 yards down to the visitor center, where Mom is waiting for me actually.
Captain Kirk?
And here's the museum. Look at all the...
Jefferson was definitely into recording and sharing useful knowledge. A Renaissance man of his time. And the ultimate knowledge was to be acquired by the Lewis and Clark expedition, the core of discovery. Jefferson was a very well-traveled man for his time as well, both in America and Europe. Let's go back to Jellystone, and tomorrow we continue the journey back south, although we are going to take the scenic route. On the road again. Here we are passing by Natural Bridge State Park once again, and the historic hotel across the parking lot. Now going over the Natural Bridge, which you can't really see anything. We are gonna take Interstate 81 south for a little bit, and then a detour because we want to do a section of the Blue Ridge Parkway. We don't have a very long drive today, and it is such a clear, perfect weather day. We've finally made it to the Blue Ridge Parkway, and we're going to take it southbound. Not the whole way to Cherokee, although let me tell you, I'm tempted, but just for a couple of hours. Today we're staying at a Harvest Host, and we don't want to get there too early. Let's stop at the Overlook and taking the view. It is one of those rare overlooks with views to both sides of the road. Let's continue. Let's stop once again right here.
As you saw, we decided to come back to the Blue Ridge Parkway, for a couple of miles just to see more, commanding views of the Blue Ridge here. And there's Mom taking pictures as we start slowly heading south back to sea level. There's a city down there.
Yep, there's a big city down there. And I wonder if that would be Roanoke. It's gotta be, right? It is rare to see a big city from the Blue Ridge Parkway. It is usually just peaceful valleys like this one. It is impossible not to be tempted to stop at every single overlook. But if we did, it would take a very long time, so we must continue. The show must go on. Let's check out the Quarry Overlook.
Here we are at the Quarry Overlook. And that must be the quarry down there.
This is supposed to be the N&W Railroad Overlook, but the town itself, nestled here in the middle of the Blue Ridge, it's beautiful. There is a section of the Blue Ridge Parkway that is closed, so we're going to have to take a detour. We're back on our preferred route, when time is not of the essence. I see a large overlook here on the left, so let's break for lunch because we're starving.
Well, let me tell you, it was a little bit of a disaster in here with all those curves, but we stopped here at the Blue Ridge Parkway once again. Reheating some leftover picadillo, and we're gonna have lunch with a view. Look at that. It is quite the view, all right. Right here. That's why I love having an RV.
As much as we would love to linger and stay on the scenic route all the way to Cherokee, at some point we have to look for the interstate and head straight south. What a beautiful area though. We are now on I-77 and we're about to go through an area right before the North Carolina state line that I like to call the Great Descent, and you'll see why. They have all these warning signs about steep grades and possible crosswinds.
Well, we made it to our harvest host, Windsor Run Cellars. That's what it's called. And here we have some vineyards. We have some more vineyards in the back. And now I'm going to go to the tasting room and get a taste, basically. Such a beautiful day. It's just nice to relax out here after such a long drive. So, cheers. Well, check it out. Good morning.
Driving through Mooresville, North Carolina, and Lake Morgan here always evoke bittersweet memories. And those of you who have been watching for a while will know what happened here. Do comment below if you remember. And that would be Charlotte, North Carolina, not to be confused with Charleston, South Carolina, which is where we're going. Charlotte here, very cool city, home to the NASCAR Hall of Fame, and we've been here before and we'll be here again, I promise. The sight of Carowinds Amusement Park in the distance means we're about to cross into South Carolina.
Welcome to South Carolina.
Oh, thank you.
A few hours later, we have driven across the state, and we are approaching Charleston on the East Coast. We're staying at James Island, an excellent county park just minutes away from the historic downtown. Let's go explore with the few hours of daylight we have left. As I mentioned, beautiful county park, very well maintained. They have a pond and some trails, and we couldn't have asked for better weather. These palmettos are ubiquitous in Charleston and the symbol of the city and the state. It's even on the South Carolina flag. It looks like they have a dog-friendly beach on the other side. Access to the park is through this road, covered in this canopy of oak trees, draped with Spanish moss, which is such a quintessential look for this area. Here we can see the downtown skyline, dotted with church steeples, a feature that has earned the city its nickname, Holy City. The city, and downtown here particularly, also known as the Peninsula, lies just south of the South Carolina coastline midpoint on Charleston Harbor, an estuary formed by the confluence of the Ashley, Cooper, and Wando rivers, which also forms the peninsula itself. I'm going to see if we can park here in this area called the Battery, at the very tip of the peninsula, and explore by foot a little bit. I'm not sure whether I can park here, but I see everybody doing it, so when in Charleston, right? At the very tip, we have a monument to the Confederate defenders of Charleston, and we will find many Confederate and Civil War monuments here. It was, after all, at Fort Sumter, at the mouth of the harbor, that the Civil War officially began. That's a nice catamaran and a beautiful afternoon for a sail around the bay. One of the main attractions along the Battery here are all these historic antebellum mansions. Take away the cars and other modernities, and you are instantly transported to a different era. Some of the mansions are, of course, museums. This whole area exudes with the opulence of a bygone era, that of early Charleston. Then you have White Point Garden here with all these trees and monuments. It's just gorgeous. Unfortunately, we are running out of daylight here, so we are going to continue by car. Try to see some of the highlights before it gets dark. This is Meeting Street, and here to the right we're going to see one of the most lavish villas, the Williams Mansion, dating back to 1876. It is so easy to get lost in the incredible and perfectly cute narrow side streets. This block here, with these houses on the left painted in pastel colors, is called Rainbow Row. It is probably one of the most photographed places in the city, and the whole area really is just so uniquely photogenic. Let's see if we can find parking so we can walk around a little bit. Here we are, plenty of parking. Very interesting looking trees. Just charming. And this would be Rainbow Row. Originally, a couple in 1931 bought the 6 buildings, which themselves dated back to the late 1700s, with the purpose of restoring them and painted them in pastel colors. A move which started a revitalization trend, and now they are part of Charleston history. Sunset is upon us, so we're going to start heading back to James Island, and we'll continue tomorrow morning. But before it gets too dark, we're going to drive around the highlights a little bit, like a driving tour if you will. Here on the right, the old Exchange building, and looking west into the sunset on Broad Street, the slave auction site. I mean, there is so much to see, and such great atmosphere. On the left, Magnolia's famous southern restaurant. We will try to have lunch there tomorrow. The imposing building coming up on the right is the United States Custom House. And coming up here, to the left, the historic Charleston City Market. We will visit tomorrow as well. Let me drive around so that we can see the facade. There it is, coming up at the end of the street. That's it. The sun has set. Tomorrow will be another day. And it's a brand new day, and there is so much to do in this city that we're barely gonna scratch the surface today. I was here back in 2017, and at the time I visited Fort Sumter and even crossed the Arthur Ravenel Jr. Bridge onto the other side of the bay, but today we're just not gonna be able to do that much. Make sure you watch that other video as well. As you probably noticed, we're taking a different route today, and Charleston, besides being the historic city that it is, it's also a vibrant college town. We're gonna try and find parking near City Market, although, pro tip, there is RV parking at the Visitor Center, under a roof, but as I said, I want to be closer to the market so Mom doesn't have to walk as much. So for that, there's the Cumberland Street parking garage.
Well, we decided to park in the garage after all because the meter on the street has a 2-hour limit, and up here, ostensibly, you can stay all day, right? Besides, we got a bird's eye view of, well, kind of bird's eye view of Charleston from up here. Let's walk around, and there's Mom right there taking pictures. We're gonna walk around the parking lot and look for, there has to be an elevator in here somewhere.
Now you see why they call it the Holy City. First thing we're gonna do here is the historic city market, and it is several city blocks long with all kinds of goods. Let's step inside. The market was originally established in 1790, and it is 4 city blocks long. And let me tell you, you can find all sorts of things here. These days, mostly touristy, but still, I think it is an experience to walk the whole thing from end to end. And that's what we're gonna do. Let's go into the next section.
That's nice. Here we continue roaming the streets of Charleston. That's over there, that's the customs house, very famous, important building. As we're gonna find something to eat here on this street now. And mom, she just bought some garments here for. Hello.
Mom is tired.
Alright, let's go find something to eat now. And back in 2011, we ate at this place called Magnolia's.
Well, apparently it's all reservations at this time of the day, so we're gonna have to go someplace else.
This, by the way, used to be Lagunitas Tap Room, but by the time I came back in 2017, they had already shut it down, and we've come up with a brilliant idea. Since it is all reservations, I went online and made a reservation for about 2 hours from now, so we have some time to kill. Here's that famous pineapple fountain. The pineapple is a symbol of Charleston hospitality. You know, I love a city with street musicians.
You are here. There you go. This is the 17th century. This will be the 18th century. We have a little bit of a city there already. This will be the 19th century. We already have Charleston proper here. And I'm assuming this will be the 20th century. We already have the bridge and all that, so. Oh yeah, we continue killing some time here while we wait for our lunch reservation to be ready. It's a lovely park. Mom's taking a break, sitting down over there, and I'm just admiring all the beautiful properties here in front of the bay here. It's quite nice, and I think this is, after we eat lunch, I think this is all we're gonna do today, because we're expecting bad weather this afternoon. So maybe not. The weather service has been known to be wrong before. So I'm just gonna come hang out with Mom a little bit, and then we'll go have lunch.
It is such a beautiful waterfront here. That's Fort Sumter, by the way, where the first shots of the Civil War were fired. And I was there back in 2017, and we'll be back again someday. I promise. Just not today. It is actually a great boat tour offered by the National Park Service. Eventually, it was time for us to eat. Fried green tomatoes, I got the bouillabaisse, and Mom got the fried chicken. It was better and fancier than I remembered. So now, let's see one more church facade and steeple and get back to the RV. The plan was to explore a lot more, but we've got bad weather coming, and Mom doesn't really have the stamina she once did. Charleston is such a charming, photogenic, and overall lovely town that we might return soon. So much to see here, such great ambience, so much history. Tornado warning here, so we're getting ready to go to the closest shelter, which is the bathroom somewhere over there.
Now under severe thunderstorm warning.
Yes.
Well, luckily the tornadoes never came, but it was a little scary there for a while.
This storm does have strong.
Did I forget something? Okay, no, we're cool. Let's go! Here's the plan. Today we're going to Savannah, Georgia, as we make our way back to South Florida. We're not gonna stay there. Not this time. We're just gonna try and find parking and spend a couple of hours in the historic district. We're coming back anyway, very soon actually, as part of the long spring-summer Lewis and Clark trip. It is a mostly uneventful 2-hour drive on US 17 and then I-95. There it is, the bridge over the Savannah River, the Georgia-South Carolina state line. And here we are, historic downtown. Savannah is such a unique historic city. So beautiful. The historic district is dotted with all these beautiful squares. This one in particular is called Chippewa Square, made internationally famous by the movie Forrest Gump.
Well, we parked here in the street in Savannah. As you can see, took 2 parking spaces, and I paid for both, so we should be okay, right? I don't see any signs that said no campers or anything like that. They just say no parking this side on Tuesday, which today is Wednesday, so we should be fine. All right, let's explore Savannah here for a couple hours. Yeah. This, by the way, one of the many squares here in the historic district, and this one will be Monterey Square, if I'm correct. So let's check it out. And there's Mom taking pictures. This is a Mercer Williams House Museum. So yeah, we're not gonna do any museums today. We're just gonna explore the outdoors, the great outdoors. And there's Minitini.
That would be starting in.
Okay, this obelisk coming up here seems to be the Pulaski Monument. And here we have the historic plaque.
The monument was erected in 1854. It memorializes General Casimir Pulaski, who died in the cause of America's independence. This 100-year-old mansion was originally owned by the Armstrong family. It is nowadays owned by a prestigious law firm.
Well, we're going into Forsyth Park now, which is right here. That's the great famous park here in I was gonna say New Orleans. Savannah! Jesus, what's wrong with me? I don't even know where I am.
And here's the famous fountain at Forsyth Park. This fountain, installed in 1858, is supposed to be reminiscent of the ones at the Place de la Concorde in France, in Paris, in fact. Although, to be honest, I don't really see the resemblance. Lots of art here at the Armstrong Mansion. This is Jones Street, one of the most emblematic cobblestone streets in Savannah. We might drive through it later. The red brick building is the Savannah College of Art and Design, very famous. And now this is Madison Square. This is St. John's Church, and here's the Green Meldrum Mansion, General Sherman's headquarters from December 22, 1862 to February 1st, 1965, where he rested after his famous March to the Sea. There's the cathedral. We're not gonna be able to make it there today, but let me tell you, you will encounter a historic building pretty much everywhere you look. And this is Chippewa Square. At the center, a monument to General James Oglethorpe, founder of what at the time was the Georgia colony.
Well, this is not exactly Forrest Gump's bench. The original would have been somewhere over there. But, you know, we decided to take a break here and at Chippewa Square with Mom. And this is pretty much our last point of interest in the whole trip. Heading back to Florida today.
Life is like a box of chocolate.
You never know what you're gonna get.
All right, let's get back to the car. And there it is, Mini Teeny 3, our tiny home on wheels, waiting for us. As I mentioned, this is pretty much the end of our walking tour of the city. I can say with certainty we'll be back soon for a more in-depth exploration of Georgia's oldest city, also known as the hostess city of the South. I may never know whether I was legally parked here or not, but we didn't get a ticket. I didn't see any indications or signs, and we were certainly not hurting anything or disturbing anyone. And it was a great way to spend a couple of hours with Mom in this charming town. I'm going to drive around a little bit, and then we go south. Before we go, I want to go for a drive on Jones Street here, since it is so iconic. Watch out, pedestrians! On the corner here, we have Clarice, famous for the novel Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. One of those books I have promised to myself I'll read someday. Ooh, traffic. Beware, Miami driver coming through. The drive back to Florida is uneventful, to put it mildly, so we won't dwell much on it.
Welcome to Florida.
Oh, thank you.
Suffice to say that we passed by Jacksonville, spent one final night at the Cape Canaveral KOA, and then back to Miami. I really hope you have enjoyed this mini season of my Spring 2022 travels with Mom. Until the next one, thank you so much for watching, and see you on the road.
I'm riding in my RV, wherever I want to be, and 'cause I'm free in my RV. Yeah, I'm riding. I'm riding in my RV, wherever I want to be, 'cause I'm free in my RV.